Alright, if you remember from last time, we left off with this KS0 Pro until 4 of the last ASIC chips stop working. So in this video, we're going to go over diagnosing and figuring out different ways to test these. Now there's no schematics or diagrams, so this took me quite a while. Let's get into it. Now we're probably going to end up changing this ASIC chip first and then this one. I'm not sure which one's bad. Maybe they're both bad. We'll start with this one and see what it does. So after changing the number 9 chip, I still have the same issue.
However, I was again frustrated by failure.
I pulled out my oscilloscope to test the clock, make sure that it was being passed from one chip to the next. As you can see, the clock is good going into chip 8, but it's not being passed by chip 8. This would mean that chip 8 needs changed and chip 9 probably didn't. After changing chip 8, you can see that all the way up to 10, 11, 12 are working. That's a good start, but there's still 3 missing. After changing chip 10, the last domain started acting weird. It started drawing way too much voltage and getting really hot, as you can see here. After changing it out a couple more times, I realized that when I went to remove the chips from the old board or the donor board, all that heat that it took to melt that unleaded solder was basically killing the chips. So what I ended up doing is heating from underneath the board so that it wouldn't destroy the chips. So I decided just to go ahead and change out all 3 of the chips in that last domain. Another thing that I discovered was when you solder them back on the board, basically the ground pad and the positive pad, you call it, are so close together, so if you don't get them lined up just right, it just won't work. So I found out it's best just to float the chips, which is basically just heat the solder up so it melts and it just floats on the surface, and it works great. So I spent a lot of time pressing them down, moving them around, trying to get them just right, but once I started floating them, it was perfect.
Success. As far as I could make out.
Alright, now that everything's working, I'm going to put it back together, let it run for about 24 hours, and come back to check on it.